This show is sponsored by Mighty Capital, the go-to venture capital firm for product-first companies like Airbnb and Amplitude. Learn why they are dubbed the best value for the dollar invested at mighty.capital. I'm SC Moadi, founder and chair of Products That Count, a 501c3 nonprofit engaging over 500,000 product managers. Our mission is simple: help you build great products through groundbreaking research, prestigious awards, and top-notch programming like this award-winning Top 1% podcast. Whether you're aiming to boost your career or turn your product team into a competitive advantage, this is your gateway. Visit productsthatcount.org and begin your product leadership journey. This particular series is hosted by one of the first chief product officers in the world, Renée Niemi, and each episode is a masterclass in product leadership. Renée, over to you.
Today I have with me Nicholas Rousseau. Nicholas is with our partner Capgemini, and I've really been excited to kick off this series with a really fun conversation with you, Nicholas. It's good to see you. Oh, I should add that he is the group offer leader of intelligent products and services at Capgemini. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Renée. Nice being with you today.
Yeah, super excited. There is just so much innovation going on, and so much learnings with all of these wonderful conversations we've had with chief product officers over this past year. I guess I would just love to get started by learning a little bit more about you and what you do at Capgemini.
Oh, yeah, I think we could take some time around it, but I'm going to try to keep it short
60 seconds or less. Okay?
Yeah, I think I could be quite vocal about it, but just to make it simple, because we're here talking about CPOs, Chief Product Officer, and there's always the question about why Capgemini there, okay, and somehow. So if you look at my title, big group of a leader, you can really translate that for a product company as being somehow a Chief Product Officer, right? Because we're a service company, so we're not obviously selling physical products, but we're having our portfolio strategy like a product company would have to serve our customer. So if I would simplify it and keep the first punchline a little bit there, I would be the CPO for the CPOs. Kind of.
The CPO for the CPOs. I love it. That's amazing. I think that's going to be a theme. So as the CPOs of the CPOs, like what are you seeing in the market? Like you have such a unique viewpoint because you're actually interacting with all of the best technology leaders down and actually helping them with innovation. What are you seeing?
I think first and foremost is a massive acceleration. Acceleration on the time to market pressure, acceleration on the innovation front, acceleration on the technological front, and a massive increase of customers' expectations as well. So I think there are two ways of saying it. It's either you step back and say, "Whoa, it's a hell of a mountain ahead of me," or you grab that as a unique opportunity to really totally pivot the way you are engaging your own customers, and which is also what I'm making on my specific angle, but that can be reproduced in somehow the B2B2B, to B2B2C. And this is all over the place. And this is a fantastic era ahead of us that is just opening, as we all know. And I believe we've been only scratching the surface of what's going to happen, namely AI. Okay, so first time in 2 or 3 minutes I could pronounce the word.
I know. I was just going to say it took 3 minutes into the conversation to get the first AI into it. But how can you ignore it, right?
Yeah, but I mean, AI is obviously at the center of most of the conversation. But I would expand a little bit broader to other technologies as well. Okay, so probably we're going to get the opportunity to discuss about it later. But I think AI is really front-running the conversation and everything. But if you go beyond AI, you have a lot of things going on in the connectivity space, in the silicon space, also that are really opening new possibilities that would be also enhanced by AI. But I wouldn't really, let's say, limit ourselves and limit our conversation to AI itself. Would be what I would see here.
Got it. Okay. So You know, I will add, you know, one of the things we've observed, frankly, is as we talk to so many chief product officers, that they're really front and center in figuring out both the short term and the long term. You and I were chatting about this earlier, but we're really seeing kind of, you know, two opportunities, both the short term opportunity and the long term opportunity. The short term opportunity is really around um, how do you optimize and speed up development process, and that touches everything. And I know that you're seeing that too. And I'd like to go there in a minute. But we're also seeing that, you know, some of the, we're going to say, you know, non-value added activities, you know, examples of that are writing PRDs or basic numbers and research and opportunity maps can really be accelerated with AI. And that's freeing up time to really think about innovation. And then, of course, long term is a whole different conversation. And this is all about like completely rethinking and leveraging, to your point, the entire ecosystem to reinvent how we solve problems for customers. That's kind of what we're seeing. But I'd love your thoughts specifically, since you're you know, deep in the tech. What are you seeing short term in terms of acceleration opportunities?
So I think you were really spotting the key topics there. And again, the CPO is really at the center of everything, because you have, I mean, it impacts the way you're thinking about your product. And we can discuss a little bit about research and development. Okay, even though this can be very diverse, but we can really deep dive maybe on one or two later. You have the R&D really, or even the innovation front. How do you bring that? Then you go to, once you've decided, to the development cycles, and then you go really to the production cycles, and then you go to the service. So this is really impacting the full chain everywhere. But on the short term, I think the value there for me is really, to your point, is really to level set really AI to more added value. Okay. I think we've been engaging about where do you spend your time and what are the key things. And for me, this is really one area where getting an instant feedback, okay, with some cautious, okay, obviously about where are you getting the feedback, where from? It's obviously a question, but somehow to the first level of things that you would get, okay, can really effectively be accelerated. And back to my introduction item as well on the increased time to market pressure as well. I think everything on the reuse of the experience, all the return on experience on developing products, on really getting the best out of it, can be really shortened. Okay, so really this is where, to your point on the short term, I do see the cost optimization, the speed optimization, more focus on the value rather than the unnecessary things, okay, which is, by the way, triggering other questions. But somehow, I guess all those are the short-term visible tip of the iceberg, I'd say, where everyone's focusing on, because this is short-term return on investment or the short-term gains. But to your point on the long term, I do believe that we're already only scratching the surface of the tip of the iceberg, if I could express it that way, when it comes to embedding the technology in the product. Okay, so somehow if I would rephrase it in simple terms, we're focusing on technology around the product as we speak, or for the product, not in the product. And for me, the mid-long term, and we saw the first, I mean, we obviously saw the first announcement about, I mean, Gen AI PCs, this kind of topic, okay, are just really the very first, absolute first pioneers about what is going to be in the future. I think pretty exciting, but I think those two threads shouldn't be neglected. I mean, both should be considered, obviously with different time frames.
Yeah. You know, what I love about your perspective, and I'll be candid, I haven't thought about this angle nearly as much as I should have, but you're seeing and in the middle of the innovation across that value chain, and and what's really, really interesting is the opportunity to pull those pieces together. And I will say that if I'm not seeing this, I kind of guarantee that there are other chief product officers that there are things that they don't know that they should know. And what is your advice to them in that environment where the change is so rapid, so accelerated, and in areas that they could leverage that they don't even know about? What do they do about that?
I mean, I would be very cautious in giving advices to some extent, but I think I can testimony about what I'm doing, also to stay upfront somehow of those. I think it's first and foremost is talk to the open ecosystem. Okay, because
Open conversations, just reach out and keep the conversation going. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's, for instance, go to fairs like the CES, like Hannover Messe, like the Mobile World Congress, Vivatech. I could name quite a few of those, just to feel the atmosphere and see what are the trends, because you have the startups, you have also the established players, and this is where you can see not only what's hyped today, but to some extent also what's coming on. Second, and this is where also it's not often seen as an opportunity, but leverage your suppliers, leverage your clients. They're going to tell you in an open conversation probably also what they're thinking about. And if you open up also a little bit about what are your questions, what are the next functionalities you'd like to discuss about, or what are your hurdles, with selected partners, I wouldn't say with the whole ecosystem, but if you have trusted technological partners, be it startups, be it universities, be it even large corporations like ours, but to discuss about what's the next big thing. Okay, yeah. And I think there, by at least the way I'm doing it, because again, I'm preparing what's going to come in 2025, 2026 already, okay, because obviously this is my role as a technology, let's say, business partner, where I want to position myself, is about discussing with the CTO, the chief technology officers of the planet, discuss with universities, with all this, to somehow assemble the whole thing into one personal belief about what would be the next big thing to come. Okay, and then like every CPO plays my bets. Okay, and I guess it's our role there, okay, in the profusion of technologies, in the profusion of ideas that are coming, is also make a kind of a triage there and say, okay, what's the right bet for me that's going to make me different or even unique as a competitive advantage on my market in a year, 2 years down the road? Okay, and I can, if this would be of interest, give you some example of those bets that I've been making 2 years back. But I think this is where it's all about.
You read my mind. Yes, please.
So let me take one example, which is popping up at least in the industrial world, not necessarily in the consumer product space yet, but it's all about edge computing, right? I mean, if you look, let's say 3-4 years ago, it was all about the cloud, okay? And it's still all about the cloud. But if you look now, how do you want to leverage the low latency and the AI? Okay, this is where you're going to come to the edge. Okay, because obviously this is the combination of the low latency, the low latency to the computation space, combined with AI, is opening a fantastic set of opportunities, okay, that you wouldn't have in the cloud. So I'm not saying the cloud won't be necessary, but really this continuum about what do you compute on the device, on the edge, and on the cloud, for me, if you think about it, is opening massive opportunities on the way you process data, the way you put them, and create new opportunities for new functionalities that you could leverage. And to that extent, if I come back to my previous point, this is something we've been investing in 2-3 years ago.
Right.
Okay, so
right.
where it was not at the top of the agenda or not even visible, but these were the things that I had collected from conversation in different industries, and make my mind also with my chief technology officers who are telling me, hey, I believe this would be the 1-2 things you'd be focusing on, and then take a bet. So you see, it's not necessarily something that I've invented myself, and I guess we always have the syndrome of the non-invented here. Okay, that I believe we are all facing from time to time there. But somehow back to your question, I think by opening up to a broader ecosystem, look at the technologies, how fast they're evolving, it's place a bet, would be my 2 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to stay with this topic if you'll bear me. I would love for you to bring it to life. So maybe first of all, spend a second and explain the products you're actually responsible for, and in the context of a service organization, because that's you're very in a very unique situation where you're part of a massive innovation partner, and yet you're producing products. And then I would love just some examples of some of those products that that you're referring to, that you've been building kind of this AI engine on top of.
Okay, so I mean, some of them are still very confidential. So I'm obviously
No, please do
gonna try
not
to
reveal anything confidential. I do not want that.
No. So again, so let me step back a little bit and come back to my role and what we're doing. So as you were mentioning at the introduction, the presentation, the portfolio I'm in charge of within Capgemini is called Intelligent Product and Services. So if we go and scratch the surface a little bit, is what do we bring as a somehow business enabler, as a strategic partner to our customer to really transform their product. Okay, so we call it intelligent, but it's also, obviously you don't have dump and intelligent product and services, but how do you bring the technology to make those products more appealing, more intelligent, to really provide the end service to the end customer, right? So this is what I'm focusing on. And if you look, if I would double down a little bit, okay, because we're touching quite a wide range of topics. So it starts somehow with, let's say, what we call the where to play. Okay, so somehow, how would you position your new product? How would you position even your brand, okay, onto a new market to really position your product in the proper space? The second piece, which is quite often undermined, is really how should I, as a company, organize to really meet my targets? Okay, so we've been talking a lot, and AI will enable that, about servitization of products. But what some companies, I wouldn't say many, but at least some companies are forgetting that transforming a sales force or sales workforce from selling a product to selling a service is a massive shift. Okay, and that also customer support organization, okay, will be definitely impacted by the way you introduce your technology in your products. So these are the kind of things that are to be seen from my perspective, in an end-to-end perspective, not to miss a piece of the value chain that could hurt the customer experience at the end. So that's the second. Third, which is what we've been engaging on so far, which is what to design. Okay, so somehow once you have the idea, once you know a little bit how you can organize, but how do you design the product? How do you integrate really those technologies in your roadmap, and so on and so forth. So the design piece is important. The fourth one, which is always a real, not issue, but challenge, call it that way, is how to scale.
Right.
Okay, because how do you scale from an infrastructure perspective? How do you make sure that what you've been designing would go at scale using the cloud, but also your own device or in your own production? So the scaling effect, especially in new technologies, is always undermined, or quite sometimes, often, put it that way. Not always, but often undermined. And last but not the least, what I call the run piece. Okay, so how do you arbitrate between your legacy product, which you still need to maintain, and how do you reposition your valuable resources that are quite often stuck in maintaining your legacy products into what's going to make you position you and your product that will be positioned on the market? So if I would double down, so these were the 5 high-level views that we're bringing, with obviously a strategic component in that, a user experience component in that, an infrastructure play, and a tech play. So therefore, my positioning is how do we bring all these, you see, quite heterogeneous pieces together, which taken standalone might be, let's say, a bit say, yeah, okay, but really the orchestration of all this is what I as a product officer okay, I'm trying to bring to my own customer, okay, which is to say, okay, how do you orchestrate all that into a compelling and proper way to match what we've been discussing at the very beginning? Faster, better, time to market.
Yep. Yep. That makes perfect sense. So, so who's your typical customer profile?
I mean, CPOs, obviously.
Yeah.
But beyond
Any
this,
particular industries or?
no, because I mean, Capgemini, and I have the, let's say, the chance, I call it a chance to be multi-industry, because if you take what I've been giving you here, it's pretty industry agnostic. Okay, so obviously we're adjusting this, I mean, the value proposition somehow to match with the industry specifics. Okay, obviously when I'm engaging on the food and beverage product, okay, it's not going to be the same as let's say an electronics product. Okay, even though as you would, if you're comparing the two, okay, what I've been telling you before would apply though. Okay, so yes, we're contextualizing the whole thing, but what we do bring, and what I try humbly to bring there, is also these transversal views across industries. Okay, somehow to say, look, these are the things, and if we come back to AI, not necessarily Gen AI, but to AI, if you take, okay, how do we transfer, for instance, the experience we have for 10, 15 years of experience of using AI in drug discovery for the pharma industry? How do you transpose that into the food and beverage somehow, okay, for getting new formulations there? Okay, and really the interesting thing we're putting there is, how do you use, for instance, Gen AI, okay, to search for new ingredients or to replace ingredients in a new food recipe that you would be building up? See, and all these are things that we've been doing for, I don't remember exactly, but probably a good 10 years in the pharma industry, okay, which are not open now to some other industry, but this is what we do bring, is this expertise, okay, just to bring that there.
Interesting. And so in many ways, you're really a partner to like any industry. And it almost sounds like, one of the really interesting specialty is you take traditionally non-tech industries and really bring to them this next generation of innovation, and really kind of help accelerate that for them.
Yeah, the fascinating piece of tech, and especially over the last few years, is that it's become pervasive, right?
You're right. It's everywhere, right?
You just, I mean, if ever you'd like to escape it, you have no chance.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is where I think our positioning is interesting, because this is this tech piece that we're bringing with some experience, okay, in industry that are a bit ahead, okay, and bring that to other industries which are traditionally not really, I mean, have not that much appetite for tech for usually good reasons. Okay, but somehow, I mean, this is a wave that you can't escape anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to shift gears for a second. I know that in your role, you're at least several years ahead of where everybody else is thinking, and you need to be, because that's the role you play for your customers, and you're helping them, and bringing them along. I would love your view on, what kind of, where are you at on kind of what's the next big thing?
So I'm obviously not going to disclose everything that we're working on
No,
for
I
also
wouldn't want you
competitive reasons.
to. Let's keep it high level.
Yeah, but say, I think obviously the next 2 years will be on further discovering what's existing there. Okay, and it's more about using the new functionality. So if I would give one around AI, probably is how do you bring AI at scale? So this might sound a bit surprising to say, how do you bring AI at scale? But let me be a bit more specific. So it's not necessarily bring, I mean, AI is already in the cloud, it's already at scale, it can manage lots of things, okay? But when we come to the product itself, it's more, how do you manage somehow thousands of products? How do you manage thousands of devices? So I'm going to switch a little bit more on the device side of the product here. Assume you have an intelligent, in quote, device, okay, so which is embedding AI, which has an SLM in there, which is able to really interact with the customer using an SLM, changing the user experience and so on and so forth. But imagine this device is no more a standalone device.
Yeah. By the way, let's bring it to life. Let's give a specific example. Generics. Like, is this like a connected Coke machine somewhere?
Could be that. Could be some things that we're working on is taking even an air purifier. Okay, so somehow is how do you make sure that you're processing the data live? Okay, how do you make sure so that from an interaction perspective, you're using GenAI to help people for the first customer enrollment? Okay, so I think how many of us have been fighting? Okay, I'm an engineer, but as a good engineer, I don't read the manual, right? So, but then you get stuck, and then just imagine how GenAI can change really the enrollment of those devices. Okay, it's just really breathtaking what we can do now. But turning back to, and somehow this is today. Okay, to answer your point, I think the customer enrollment using GenAI is today. But if you take my example, for instance, of an air purifier that where you would have several devices somehow across a home or across a company, and I keep it on purpose simple, but it's like, okay, how do you correlate them? Because if they start for good reason orchestrate on their own, okay, because they're autonomous, they're smart, they're AI, but how do you correlate all of them so that they're not dysfunctional one with the other? Okay, for any reason. So this is where you come, and this is something, if you look a little bit ahead about the distributed smart systems, I believe is something that are gonna, where the rubber is gonna hit the road in a few years down the road, because once all or most of devices will become really autonomous intelligence and autonomous agents to some extent. The question, how do you coordinate them in an intelligent and proper manner, will arise very soon. Okay, and this is where you come from, you call for, say, quite deep mathematical modeling, okay, behind this, because obviously it's, the answer seems quite straightforward, say, okay, let's them talk one to the other. But when you come one level below, okay, it becomes damn complex. So you see, these are the kind of things that, as we speak, is not necessarily the topic, but that probably in a, let's take the crystal ball here. Okay, is it in a year? Is it 2 years? Is it 6 months? So it's hard to predict, obviously. But this is for my customer interaction, and back to what I've been telling you to where do I get my inspiration from? So this was discussions with some of our advanced AI experts, from my CTOs, from the customers, and this is already resonating on the market. So yes, this is probably the next big thing that companies will gonna face.
Wow, exciting stuff. We really are in the middle of a revolution, right? You and I were talking, but it's just the rate of innovation isn't 2x. It almost feels like an order of magnitude larger than where we were, and it's just a matter of time before somebody comes up with a Moore's law, that equivalent of AI innovation. Maybe that's an opportunity for you, Nicholas.
I would be very, very, very humble engaging on that one.
Awesome. So let's just move. It's just been a fascinating conversation. If we were to leave one parting thought, one piece of advice for chief product officers, what would that be?
I'd say speed. Okay, if there would be one keyword, is speed, speed, speed. And there are good and bad reasons for speed. You would have the fear of missing out versus competition, so which is always these days a bit tricky because you don't know exactly how fast the adoption is going to be. You have the speed of obsolescence as well, even on your own portfolio, because I think we haven't, could be a further conversation that we would have one day, but I believe that this will also accelerate the portfolio rotation. Okay, so
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
definitely. So somehow this speed applies to very different facets of what a chief product officer will have to face. But I think the portfolio rotation is going to be speed up. So it's all about running fast, and probably, as we were discussing, get the right advice, get the right conversations to make sure that also we are collectively or individually making the right bets, because it's not that obvious to navigate into the jungle of the new technologies and everyone promising that this is the new technology that's going to change life. And we have to make those bets because obviously, I mean, money is scarce, investments are scarce, so we can't embrace all the bets on technology. So somehow I would say around speed is get your mind, decide, and let's say implement fast. Okay, we all know about the risk of failures, but somehow waiting 6 months, I mean, taking 6 months nowadays to make a decision makes already the decision an outdated one. Okay, because that speed of innovation is going so fast that if you take 6 months to decide, your decision is going to be wrong. So better decide fast and then change gear or change direction if needed, rather than waiting 6 months, because the obsolescence of the tech has never been that fast.
You know, I really think that is such a strategic point. You know, we often use the hockey analogy, skate to where the puck's going to be, not where it is. But now the puck has afterburners on. So you really have to like have this amazing insight on where it's going, and you cannot wait. I love that perspective. How you know what are the tips to chief product officers on how you maintain that speed and how you stay inside that innovation? I know you want to talk, but isn't there a partner element here?
Yes, and again, so this is my bread and butter. So I wouldn't deny that I'm not only passionate, but I'm trying to bring an added value there. But if you step back over there, I think this is what we're bringing, but don't undermine again your own conversations with partners, startups, even universities. I mean, just hearing about what's new in the top-notch US and European or Asian universities, just to know what's going on a little bit. Because again, that time from the applied research in universities to the market has been massively shortened again. So I'd say, yes, we can, I mean, everyone can be a campaign, I mean, can be supported by third parties. And again, this is what I'm selling to my own customers. But beyond this, this is a good way to really bring things together. But we have obviously a subjective view of things. Okay, let's be clear, because we are making our own bets. But I think, yes, this is where technology and business partners, strategic partners, as we say, might be of interest to really pre-digest things and make some suggestions that are well aligned with the business targets that we might have.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your insights today. This has been a really fun conversation. I love the way that you're just so far in front of thinking about how to innovate in both traditional and non-traditional ways. And it's just really exciting times in the middle of this AI revolutions. Thank you for sharing this conversation with me today, Nicholas.
Thank you, Renée. It's been a great pleasure, as always.
This is SC Moadi again, founder and chair of Products That Count. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, be sure to leave us a review on your favorite platform, including Spotify and Apple. And please check out our other resources at productsthatcount.org. They're designed to accelerate your product career and make product the most important function in business. Until soon.